This is Unit 5, the Industrial Age for the Great Niagara class. Was a transition away from the age of sails to the Industrial Age a good development? What was gained and what was lost? Well, as for what was gained, you gained better ships that were a little more reliable at certain points. Steam-powered ships could move even if the wind didn't feel like it that day. However, you also had more prone risks, such as boiler explosions and such like that. But as the Industrial Age moves on, you also get things like steel-hulled vessels, which are less susceptible to fire than a wood-hull vessel. Overall, I think it was a better development. I think more was gained, the more was lost, I think. That especially as it progresses, you gain better safety regulations for lives, and such like that. Until that point, however, it was actually more dangerous. More vessels plying the Great Lakes, along with the fact that safety regulations weren't often put into place until they were forced, until companies that ran the ferries, for instance, were forced to implement said safety regulations. So it was a hard transition, but I think it was a good transition. Overall, I think it would save more lives, but in the short term, things became temporarily more dangerous. Based on my limited experience, would I prefer to employ a sailing vessel or a freighter? If the freighter steel hull, give me the freighter. Mainly because of the fact that the sailing vessel is more temperamental, and it has a wood hull, while the freighter has a boiler, which, yes, could explode and cause problems, but it's also steel-hulled, so it's less likely to catch fire. Also, it's more likely to have something like a radio in it, if we're that far along in the Industrial Age, which is a wonderful development. Yeah, there's less in the packet about freighter crashes than there is about sailboat crashes, so I would much prefer to be employed on a freighter. Are you impressed by the industrial heritage that I've seen in this voyage? Am I saddened? And provide my idea on American industry in the Great Lakes based upon what I've seen. Okay, so I think Erie is one of those embodiments of the Rust Belt. It never really recovered from the industry that it had, and it saddens me that my home is in the state that it is. On the other hand, though, the Industrial Revolution was not good for the environment, and I'm glad that things are getting better for it. Not great, but better. I'm impressed with what people were able to do. I'm especially impressed with the fact that people were able to cross the seas on a wood hull vessel like this, even before freighters came out. But overall, I'm impressed with the level of industry that happened on the Great Lakes in its time, and it saddens me that things have fallen to such disrepair on the human side. On the environmental side, the Industrial Age saddens me greatly because it was so awful for the environment. Coal freighters, exploitation of the land for mining, just so many vessels in the Great Lakes that were, in the process of actively polluting it with each trip that they went on. The increased population around the Great Lakes meant more waste into the lakes themselves. So, from an environmental standpoint, I'm glad the revolution is over, and we can move to properly beginning to recover from it. I'll get more into Erie and its industrial fallout in the next one, because I have a lot to say on Erie and its post-industrial age.